Hello and welcome to Not a Draft. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I've been playing a lot of Pauper friendly leagues lately, and I've kind of fine-tuned a list that I've really been having fun with. So, figured I'd share it with you guys today. It's pretty spicy, and I've been having so much fun. So the deck is Tortured Existence. This is for Pauper, by the way. And Tortured Existence, the card, has the ability black, discard a creature card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's technically card disadvantage because you're playing a card to get this ability, but as you'll see, there's really no downside here. This card is just very strong. I think one of the strongest cards in Pauper, if you can get it working. Obviously you have to build your whole deck around it, which is what we're going to talk about next, but it's really good. So cards that go well with Tortured Existence is the Dredge mechanic. So we have 2 Golgari Brown Scale, Dredge 2, and when it comes into your graveyard, comes from your graveyard to your hand, you gain 2 life. So, pretty good life gain, just a great card overall. And we have 4 Stinkweed Imps because they have Dredge 5, which just really lets you churn through your deck and put your whole deck in the graveyard, and then you just have this big toolbox from which you can pick the best creature that you need at the time. So, some more enablers, Stater Wayfinder. A big problem with this deck is hitting lands because once you get Tortured Existence in play, you're going to be dredging every turn, which means you're not drawing any more lands for the rest of the game. So cards that get lands are pretty nice. So Satyr Wayfinder gets lands and also puts more creatures in your graveyard. My favorite card is Tilling Treefolk. So it's a 3 mana. When it enters, you can get 2 land cards from your graveyard to your hand, which is pretty good, but we have the full, we have 5 cycling lands. And so what you can do is you can cycle lands to dredge, get them back with Tilling Treefolk, and you can really just dredge through your whole deck so fast. I like that combo, and these cycling lands also help you prevent from flooding and help find the Tortured Existence early on if that's what you're looking for. Next we have Vessel of Nascency. So it's 2 mana. You can look for a creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. Likely we're just going to be using this looking for enchantments. It just helps you dig for Tortured Existence, so that's pretty nice, and while it's doing it, it puts cards into your graveyard. So I think that's the basis of the enablers. Then we have a little bit of survival. So Fume Spitter, I think, is just a general good creature. Just 1 mana, 1/1 that can put -1/-1 counters. It can kill like Delver of Secrets, any of the annoying flyers, and if you do it enough times, you can ping down a whole army. Then we have a combo with Fume Splitter is Wickerbaugh Elder. So this allows you to destroy artifacts or enchantments for a green, and you need a -1/-1 counter on it to do that. And so you can kill an enchantment, and then you can actually Fume Spitter your own Wickerbaugh Elder, and you can kind of just machine gun down a bunch of artifacts or enchantments if that ever comes up. So that's why I've chosen this card instead of like I think Mirror Replica some people run, but I think this is way stronger, and it stays in play, and it's 4/4 is pretty big threat in Pauper. Survives Lightning Bolt and Evercar's Justice too, that does 2 to everything. So I really like this card. We also have a Miser's Ravencrime. Just if the game's going long, you can get some lands back with Tilling Treefolk and start, draining their hand. I think it's nice just to have one of pre-board for the controlling matchups. Along that line, we have 1 Augur of Skulls. Just makes them discard 2 cards every turn and does it on your upkeep. So this card's pretty important, especially if you want them to have no cards in hand during your turn. Say you need to resolve like a Tortured Existence, or you're going for an infinite combo, which we have next. So we have 2 Oromancers, which serve double duty. They can grab Vessel of Nascency if you want more value, but mostly they're there to have as backup for Tortured Existence. So you almost always want to have these in your hand just waiting around. You don't really cast them that often, but if they ever kill your Tortured Existence, then you can just get it right back, which is a pretty nice play. And yeah, so you have 2 of these. The other reason they're in here is we have this card, Presence of Gond, and so it gives a creature the ability to tap and make a 1/1 green elf token, which seems pretty innocuous, but we have a 1 of Midnight Guard, which whenever a creature enters, he untaps. And so it's an infinite combo. You can get infinite creatures with these 2 cards. So if you're, this deck doesn't have many ways to actually win the game. The whole deck is based around surviving and draining your opponent out. And so this is like a one surefire way of, no matter how late in the game, you can make infinite creatures and kill your opponent. It's a bit less effective on Magic Online, but I think it's still nice to at least try out. I've been pretty pleased with it, but I could definitely see not running it because it does take up space in the deck. But again, like, having Midnight Guard isn't a big deal because you can always just discard him to Tortured Existence, so he's, you know, just discard fodder when you don't need him. But when you need him, he's been really good. We have the One of Crypt Rats. This card is kind of like our other win condition. So you X mana, spend X to deal X damage each creature and each player. You can just wipe the board, and you can keep recurring it to just drain your opponent out. And you're not going to die because you have Golgari Brown Scale, so you can keep gaining life. So I like that card a lot. We have Grave Scrambler, which is kind of the engine of this deck. So it's a 4 mana 2/2, which is not good, but it has Madness 1 and a black. And when it enters the battlefield, if you played the Madness cost, you can get a creature card from your graveyard back to your hand. So say you discard it to Tortured Existence, you get a creature back, and then it enters from Madness, you get another creature back. So you've spent 3 mana to get a 2/2 and 2 creatures into your hand, which I think is really good. And then you can usually kill this card off with your own Crypt Rats, so you can just keep recurring this advantage over and over. Or you can use it as a chump blocker, because you can do this at instant speed. So say they attack with like a big creature, you play this, get 2 creatures back, chump block, and you're still up a card. And you can do cool things like, I guess I have not mentioned this yet, but I think Spore Frog is like the backbone of the deck. Most creature decks have no way to deal with this, in the main deck at least. So you prevent combat damage that would be dealt this turn, and you can do it every turn because you get it back with Tortured Existence. So that gives you so much time, and it only takes 2 mana each turn. So you have enough mana to, like, I don't know, get value off Grave Scrabbler or start getting lands back with Tree Folk and building towards your strong late game. So you can, you know, be Spore Frogging and Augur of Skulls, just get your opponent so low, and then like Crypt Rats their board, and then just hit him with a big Crosan Tusker. So he's the last card in the deck. Just pretty good overall, all around good card. 7 mana 6/5. Sometimes you just need a big dude to start hitting or blocking, but often this card just helps you get more lands. Because again, the main bottleneck of this deck is lands. If you have Tortured Existence in play and like 4 lands, like you have the whole deck at your disposal, but without being able to play anything, it's not very good. So just as many ways to hit lands as you can, I think, is nice. And then the other thing is with cycling, so Crosan Tusker and then Tree Folk plus these cycling lands. As I mentioned before, you can dredge off of a cycle, and so Crosan Tusker is really great in that it finds you a land and dredges, so it's just exactly what you want to be doing at certain times during the game. And very often I'll be looking for this card just to, you know, take you from the mid to late game where you just have a bunch of lands, the whole graveyard at your disposal, and you're doing such way more strong things than your opponent is doing. So now looking at the sideboard, our 2 worst matchups are the burn decks, because they don't really care that, you know, we have a bunch of blockers and they just do damage to our face. So we bring in 3 Gnaw to the Bones, gaining 2 life for each creature card in your graveyard, when very frequently you'll have 10 to 15 creatures in your graveyard. I don't know how they come back from that. And then it has flashback, so you can do it all over again. So with Gnaw to the Bone plus the 3 of Golgari Brown Scales, I think we're in a pretty good position to beat the mono red decks. But I think that's still the worst matchup. Then Delver decks can sometimes tempo you out. You know, if they like counter your existence and then daze like a bigger play, and then they just kind of hit you with flyers enough until you're dead. Stinkweed Imp's quite good against them. The Death Touch is pretty relevant, but we have Fester Creep, which can kill a lot of their 1/1s. And then I like playing Fester Creep plus Abyssal Gatekeeper, because Fester Creep kills the Gatekeeper, and then they lose all of their 1/1s, and if they have a big creature, this can kill that as well. So I bring in the Gatekeeper against Delver decks, and this card's also quite good against decks that play Ulamog's Crusher, because you can sacrifice it to the Annihilator trigger, and then they have to sacrifice their Crusher, if you can deal with a lot of like the smaller creatures. So I think that's pretty good. Fume Spitter, again, just good against small creature decks. And then the other problems, I guess, yeah, Seal of Doom is brought in for Ulamog's Crusher almost exclusively, but you can recur it with Oromancer, and it's a pretty good card. And then finally, a lot of the controlling like Tron decks can beat us too. Usually post sideboard they can recur Bajuka Bog and play Ulamog's Crusher, which can be a problem for this deck. We can chump block it a lot, but then we have to sacrifice lands, which gets problematic eventually. So I think one of my favorite sideboard techs is Last Rites. So 3 mana, discard any number of cards, which we don't really care about, and then target player reveals his hand, and you can choose a non-land card for it for each card discarded this way. So if you play this on turn 3, you can just destroy their entire hand, and if you have Tortured Existence back, then you're doing quite well. And then Augur of Stoles is quite good as well, and you can just recur it and just drain their hand. So between the two of those, and then a Miser's Mesmeric Fiend also can just take their strongest threat. But anyway, that's the deck, and I'll see you guys round 1.